We will call the Rutherford County Ethics Committee to order. Mr. Patterson, would you call the roll, please, sir?
Commissioner McMurray,
Here.
Commissioner P,
Here.
Commissioner Harris. Here. Joanna Medlin. Ted Beatty.
Present. All of us are present. We have a quorum, so I'm going to turn this over to the county attorney, Mr. Christensen, to elect a chairman.
Thank you, Tab. At this time, I will accept nominations for chairman of the Ethics Committee.
Make a motion to elect Ted Beatty as chairman.
Any other nominations?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you, I think. Appreciate that, Will. We need to elect a secretary. Mr. Patterson is present and willing to serve in that role if we would like to nominate him. So I would accept a motion for secretary.
I move that we elect Mr. Patterson as our secretary.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Any other nominations? Any discussion? All in favor of Mr. Patterson as secretary, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Mr. Patterson, thank you. You will notice that you have a copy of the minutes of our last meeting on your desk. And in studying those, we have some past minutes that we need to approve. And because we meet so infrequently, just when we have complaints to the Ethics Committee, it has been recommended that if it is the wish of the committee that the chairman be able to approve and sign those minutes, since we don't meet regularly, that we approve those past minutes and accept that. So I would entertain discussion or a motion on that suggestion.
I make a motion to approve the July 17th, 2024 minutes and all the past minutes as well.
All right, so I have a motion. Do we have a second? All right, Commissioner, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Now, on the opportunity, since we meet infrequently, for the chair to be able to look over those meetings and approve and sign those going forward. Any thoughts, discussion on that?
I mean, I think it should be fine.
You want to make that in a motion, Commissioner?
So moved.
All right, thank you, sir. Second. All right, Ms. Medlin, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Now it is time for public comments. When we call your name, if you would please come forward to the podium. You will have 3 minutes in which to speak, and if you would, give us your name and your address when you come forward. And our first one is Nancy DeGenario.
Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Nancy DeGenario, and I live in District 9 here in Rutherford County at 403 Tyne Avenue. I spent 27 years as a journalist with the Daily News Journal covering the people and stories of this community. Today, I work in media at MTSU. I come before you not as a reporter, but as a friend and someone who has seen firsthand the character of Jason Bennett. I met Jason in 2013, soon after my divorce. I was a single mom raising 2 kids and trying to find my footing. Within weeks of meeting, I faced a plumbing issue at my home. Bills were piling up, stress was high. Jason, being handy, showed up and fixed my faucet, no charge. That was the first of many times he stepped in, including helping my mom with repairs over the years at her home. That is simply who Jason is. If you are his friend, you can count on him. As our friendship grew, I also covered Jason many times in his role as a public activist, standing with the homeless community, the Muslim community, or any group that needed a voice. In 2017, when white nationalists descended on our county shortly after Charlottesville, Jason immediately began working with faith leaders, local police, and city officials to organize a peaceful, unifying response. Out of that effort came Murfreesboro Loves, a movement that allowed residents and businesses to stand publicly for unity and compassion. That movement is now preserved in MTSU's History Department and at the Chamber of Commerce. Jason and the coalition behind Murfreesboro Loves were later recognized by the NAACP as Humanitarians of the Year, a powerful affirmation of the values he lives out: courage, integrity, and service to the community. He was also named D&J Person of the Year during my tenure, and on a personal level, he is the friend who introduced me to my husband. Jason's ethics run deep. His identity as a follower of Jesus shapes his actions. He believes in serving the poor, the marginalized, and the vulnerable, living out the spirit of Matthew 25:40. Whatever you did for one of the least of these, you did for me. He founded Murfreesboro Coal Patrol, helped launch the annual Love Your Neighbor picnic with Abdu Kati, and helped form the Rutherford County Interfaith Council. Jason is outspoken in his politics, yes, but he is equally dedicated to building bridges and finding common ground. Most importantly, he is a steadfast friend and a loyal servant of this community. I offer this testimony because I believe Jason's character reflects the values in this commission, the values this commission should uphold: service, honesty, and accountability. Thank you.
Jennifer Edwards.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Edwards, and I'm a resident of the city of Murfreesboro at 2739 Painted Pony Drive, 37128, District 7. I actually live inside the city limits. I've been a resident of Murfreesboro since August of 2002, and next month will mark 20 years of being a property owner here. I have known Jason Bennett for a little over a decade. I cannot tell you exactly how we met. I don't remember. I have perimenopause. I believe it began when I was looking for volunteer opportunities and learned about Cold Patrol. Jason was so vocal about the good Cold Patrol is doing for our unhoused community. And that is when I met him, I believe. We're here today to speak about character, and I want to share what I have seen with my own eyes over the last 10 years. A little bit into me knowing Jason, a local boy went missing here in Murfreesboro. His name was Devin Bond, and that was in 2017. While the sheriff's department and really nobody with power in our community cared about this boy who was rotting away in the woods, Jason was organizing searches. I saw this myself because I was very intricately involved in the case at the time and knew the boy personally. Jason did not know Devin at all. But because the community cried out for help, he stepped up. I saw him in the woods multiple times with hunting vests on, you know, those yellow and orange things, with multiple people searching, doing grid searches, trying to find him, to bring him home. And that was just one example. I've seen Jason helping with the Murfreesboro Muslim Youth Group, which donates food and backpacks to families, to any family in need across our entire city. I've met people from that organization because of Jason and his commitment to making sure the right help got to the right people. Also, like Nancy, I too am a single mother and do better. I'm also a woman who is incapable of fixing anything that breaks inside of her home, the one I pay taxes on. Jason has shown up for me multiple times. When them damn squirrels got in my attic and tore everything up, he came right away and patched the hole and helped me with my duct work. He's helped me more than once without ever asking for anything in return. I've seen Jason show up for people in this community time and time again, people he did not know, simply because it's the right thing to do. I am here to tell you that the character of this man should never be questioned. For over 10 years, I've watched him serve this community with no agenda and no benefit to himself and no hesitation. This is who he is, and his word is just as good as his actions.
My name is John Key, and I live at 1203 Westbourne Drive in Smyrna. I'm a residential appraiser with the Rutherford County Property Assessor's Office. Because of pending litigation, my comments today will be limited. However, I feel it is important to clarify a few key facts that relate directly to the allegation raised in the recent ethics complaints. First, I want the committee to know that I personally reached out to the mayor in early 2024 regarding concerns I had about conduct within the assessor's office. The mayor did not contact me first. I initiated that communication on my own. Second, I want to address the subject of residential greenhouses because this issue was misrepresented in Jason Bennett's recent filing. I have worked for the assessor's office for around 3.5 years. When I began, my supervisor at the time, Chance Baker, specifically instructed me to not assess residential greenhouses. I did confirm with 5 other appraisers that they were instructed to do the same thing. After seeing recent inaccurate media posts and reviewing Mr. Bennett's complaint, I sent an email on November 21st to Mr. Mitchell, my supervisors, and appropriate staff asking a straightforward question. Should we be assessing residential greenhouses, and if so, what criteria should we use? Since no written directive or policy had ever been provided, only the verbal directive by Chance Baker. Shortly afterward, my coworkers and I were given a verbal instruction, not a written policy, explaining how residential greenhouses were to be assessed going forward. We were told that a greenhouse should only be assessed if it had a permanent foundation, such as concrete, or other permanent indicators, such as being physically attached to the residence. When I reviewed countywide CAMA data, I found that out of over 130,000 parcels, only 59 greenhouses appear on record, 46 residential and 13 commercial. I have provided each of you with that list. Of those 46 residential listings, 6 of those are on commercial or exempt accounts. That leaves 40 actual residential greenhouses. Unfortunately, due to a 20% error rate of those 40, 8 of those are not there anymore. As you can see from the images I've provided, the greenhouse is there in 2015 and not in 2019, but this person is still being taxed for it. Of the remaining 32, 4 have no value assigned. That would leave only 28 residential greenhouses in all of Rutherford County, and of those 28, many did not appear to meet the requirements as mentioned in the November 21st meeting, but I could not verify that through aerial imaging. These inconsistencies further demonstrate that there has been a clear, consistent, or there has never been a clear, consistent, or documented policy for greenhouse assessments in Rutherford County. Despite this lack of policy and despite the fact that appraisers were repeatedly instructed not to assess these structures, Mr. Mitchell and Jason Bennett used this subject to publicly accuse both the mayor and my colleague of wrongdoing. The data clearly shows those accusations were not supported by our offices or practices. Thank you.
Ken Pruitt. Ken Pruitt. No, okay. Pruitt's not here. Randy McDougal. Randy McDougal. Come on, sir.
My name's Randall McDougal. I live at 4011 Edmund Drive in Murfreesboro. I've been working for the county for 6 years as a property appraiser. Back in 2024, we were told not to put things on in 2 years ahead of time, which was 2026, a reassessment year. I was at a printer, and one of the employees asked me for some help on the software he was using. I went over to him, and I saw that he was working in 26. This is in the year 24. And we were told not to do that. And I told him, we're not supposed to be in 26. And he said, that's what I was told to do. Then Chance Baker, is my superintendent at the time, supervisor at the time, told me to mind my own business and quit being paranoid. The comptroller's office told us we could not do that. It was wrong. I talked to the mayor. That was the first time I talked to the mayor. The mayor never called me soliciting anything. I called him for some kind of guidance because I didn't know what was right or wrong at the time. I do now. But Mayor Carr didn't do anything wrong other than do his duty like I want to do my duty, is be honest and transparent, because working for the county, Rutherford County people, that's our job. We stand to a higher standard. And I've always felt that way about government officials. And now that I work for the government, the county, it's our duty to do our best. And we will mess up, we'll make mistakes, but we own it up. And that's basically all I have to say, is that we have a duty. And somebody that's been there 20 years told me, or told Ken, who can't be here today, he's got COVID, that it's the best bunch of appraisers they've had in a long time, because these people actually care. We care. We're not trying to get vindictive on anyone. I'm a taxpayer here. I pay property taxes. I own a home. And I want that to be done fairly. And that's all we ask. And when the taxpayers call up, and I've talked to a lot of them, and some of them apologize for calling. I said, no, you're doing your due diligence. You're being a good steward of your property. I said, that's what we're here for. And if it's wrong, we'll correct it. And that's our job. And I stand proud in saying that. I truly believe that. It's not just speaking, but that's the way I feel. So I support Joe, the Mayor Carr, and he did not initialize it. He supported us in what we saw wrong, and we want to be the best. I think we could be the best assessor's office in the state of Tennessee. We really have that potential, and I'm proud of the work I do. Thank you.
Richard Kincaid. Richard Kincaid.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Kincaid. I live at 1006 Hickory Ridge Drive in Murfreesboro and have been a residential appraiser in the assessor's office for 3.5 years. I'm here because 2 ethics complaints contain incorrect and misleading information that dragged employees, the mayor, and the public into some things that should never have been brought before this committee. Because of ongoing litigation, I will focus only on what I know firsthand. First, the claim that the mayor orchestrated or drafted my complaints is false. He never recruited me. Like other employees, I contacted him, shared my statements, and asked for guidance before submitting them to the comptroller in March 2024. I acted independently and in good faith to ensure accurate and lawful assessments. Now to the greenhouse allegation. In January 24, the mayor contacted our office about incorrect square footage on his property. I reviewed his account because it was in my assigned area. What I found were the same widespread issues affecting thousands and thousands of homeowners. Major sketch and data mistakes and directives telling appraisers to delay corrections until future appraisal years, instead of fixing them when they discovered them. In simple terms, homeowners in this county, like the mayor's account, were knowingly being allowed to pay too much or too little depending on the correction that was being deferred to future years. In larger terms, the entire tax roll was operating on an unfair tax system. These were the core issues I reported to the comptroller, who later validated those concerns. In February 24, my colleagues and I were instructed to continue doing this unlawful practice. I couldn't do it, okay? I had to stop it, y'all. Okay, and I'm sorry I'm getting emotional, but this has been 2 years. 2 years of my life dragged in front of people to tell y'all the truth. Okay? The comptroller validated my concerns. We need help. We need help. We have supervisors telling us to do illegal things in this office, and we are being mistreated for doing that. I'm not even going to read this anymore. This is a plea for help. This county, like Mr. McDougall said, it could be one of the best appraiser teams ever if we just had the right leadership, and we don't. Okay, we don't. It's a fact. And I can prove it through CAMA data. I can prove how I'm not perfect. Mr. Mitchell ain't perfect. None of us are perfect. But Mr. Mitchell didn't even investigate my complaint. He immediately started making false allegations of greenhouses not being assessed and other things. Y'all, I'm not perfect, but I do my best. And my colleagues can attest to how much I try to be I strive for perfection in my job, more than anybody I know. And I'm not perfect. I do make mistakes. But when somebody tells me to do something illegal, I was a deputy sheriff for 8 years. I'm not going to do something illegal. I reached out to the comptroller's office. They told me they had to investigate. Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all's time, and I'm sorry.
Connie Leonard.
Good afternoon. I'm Connie Leonard. I live at 2584 Kennedy Creek Road, Auburntown, Tennessee. I am an employee of the Rutherford County Property Assessor's Office and have been for 17 years. My role is Administrative Coordinator under the leadership of Rob Mitchell. My purpose for speaking here today is to provide clarity of an ethics complaint filed by Mr. Mitchell. In October of 2024, a team from the Division of Property Assessment Office began its operation to train and correct the inaccurate property records in the Rutherford County Property Assessor's Office. The workstation utilized by the DPA team located in the conference room inside the assessor's office, and to gain access to this area, one must have a badge to enter through the locked inner office door that leads to the conference room. A few days within the DPA workers being in the office, I observed the burden of being placed on the burden of the employees as the DPA gentlemen were entering through the locked doors. The assessor's employees were having to stop their duties and swipe their badge to open the locked doors so the DPA workers could return to their workstation. As the administrative coordinator for the office, I saw there was a need for a temporary badge to be issued, and I made that request. I made the request, a request that I have made many times for employees in the past. The badge only accessed the locked inner doors between the office hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. The badges did not access any exterior entry doors to the building or any exterior doors to the assessor's office. This was nothing more than a hall pass to allow state employees to move effortlessly between the locked inner office doors of the office. Until I saw this complaint on WGNS last week, I was unaware of any circumstances or any disturbances that was caused by my actions. I confronted the employees of the DPA this morning if they had ever been approached by Rob Mitchell in the past concerning the badge. And their response was they detected affliction brewing and made the decision to return the badge to prevent any employee from facing any kind of retribution. I made an apology to those men this morning for them feeling the need and compelled to protect me because they feared I would face retaliation by my superior. All I was doing was extending a simple act of kindness to them while they were present in our office. This was not a concocted conspiracy theory to authorize non-employees into the assessor's office to dig up dirt or an abuse of authority alleged at Mayor Carr. It was provided simplicity as an inconvenience on honor situation taking place when the DPA was needing to return their workstation after taking care of personal needs. It is essential to have trustworthy leadership in government to achieve the trust of the people and their colleagues. But transparency is not visible throughout locked doors. Thank you.
That concludes our public comment section. We will move in just a moment to a couple of complaints that are on our agenda. Before we do that, as I usually do in these meetings, I'll remind us about our ethics policy, those areas that are actually covered under the ethics policy. I know sometimes I always seem to make this comment, it's frustrating that everything ethical or unethical does not necessarily fall under the ethics policy or the ethics committee. The areas of which we are responsible is for the disclosure of personal interest in a voting matter, disclosure of a personal interest in a non-voting matter, and the acceptance of a gift or thing of value to perform an act or not to perform an act that an official is or an employee is responsible for doing. So those are the areas that fall under the jurisdiction of this committee. But we will move now to the first ethics complaint we have by Mr. Jason Bennett. Committee, we voted in the past. What we've done is given the complainant 10 minutes on which to discuss with us, and then the respondent also gets 10 minutes. The committee can ask questions outside of that, but those are our initial boundaries. So, Mr. Bennett, if you'd like to come forward at this point, you would have 10 minutes, sir. And if you would identify yourself for us as the public comments did, we would appreciate it.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Bennett. I live in District 20. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today because what is at stake here is not just one complaint or one official. It is the integrity of the entire process of oversight in Rutherford County. The process of local government oversight is deeply flawed. Conflicts of interest should be avoidable in ethics probes, and yet here they are, embedded in the very structure of this committee and in the relationship surrounding it. That's not accusing anybody on this committee of anything. I'm not saying that. We have conflicts with Jason Mumpower, comptroller. We have conflicts with Will Denami. And we have conflicts with 3 members of this very ethics committee. How can the public be expected to trust the outcome of this process that's so compromised already just at the beginning of it? And it's part of the point of this. How can we ensure a fair decision-making process when the conflicts are this obvious? Oversight must be impartial. Ethics probes must be free of entanglements. Otherwise, they are not oversight at all. They are theater, and the public sees through it. There's also a deeper problem, a lack of concern for the rules themselves. Rules exist for reasons. They are meant to protect the public trust, to safeguard fairness, and to set boundaries that no official should cross. Yet in this county, rules seem to apply unevenly. Some are enforced strictly, while others are ignored altogether, and too often there is a lukewarmness towards accountability, a shrug, a dismissal, a sense that the rules don't really matter. And frankly, sometimes they're just laughed at. Scripture warns us about this very attitude in Revelations 3. It says, "So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth." Lukewarmness is not neutrality, it's failure. And when leaders treat rules as optional, they set a dangerous example for everyone they are charged with leading. Consider the examples. Selling products from the courthouse and using county employees to help sell them. It's no different than imagining a county maintenance employee driving a county vehicle on county time, also taking Uber Eats requests and pocketing side money. Everyone would immediately recognize that as a misuse of public resources, yet here it's tolerated if it benefits the mayor. Boldly displaying a bottle of Jack Daniels and another alcoholic beverage bottle on a shelf in a county office, in direct violation of county policy. Is it against policy to possess alcohol? It says that it is. That's the only question. That's the only question on this. Attempting to explain to a member of this ethics committee why Rob Mitchell needs to go on the very day of his ethics hearing, but outside the formal hearing itself. At which point, the chief of staff actually stepped in and let him know that was crossing a line. We know a line was crossed. And within mere hours of filing the ethics complaint, this one, a county director called my employer to verify my employment. That action had no legitimate official purpose, and while it may not be emphatically retaliation or intimidation, it certainly can be viewed that way, and I definitely view it that way. Not impressed. At minimum, it is unethical. And the imagery it presents of government officials reaching into a citizen's workplace after a complaint is filed underscores exactly what this whole mess is about: the misuse of position and disregard for boundaries that protect public trust. By every standard, county, state, and federal, there are clear ethical boundaries that cannot be crossed. Yet here, they are crossed openly, and the response is tepid at best. Let me pause to explain, this is going to get off of this a little bit, why I sometimes use satire and imagery when engaging the public, because it's been brought up that this is unserious, that I'm unserious. Too often, people tune out when faced with routine headlines or dry reports, but when misconduct is dressed up as honey sales in the courthouse or liquor bottles displayed in county offices, those images stick. They may seem petty at first glance, but they testify to something larger, and that's a disregard for rules coming from the county's highest office. Satire is not a dismissal, it's a spotlight. It's been used like that for centuries. It's effective because it captures attention, keeps the public engaged, and makes sure these violations can't be brushed aside. Let me be clear, I do not treat these matters unseriously because I use satire. The humor or imagery is a vehicle to underscore the seriousness of the disrespect for rules and the erosion of public trust. Unfortunately, the mayor himself does treat them unseriously. He laughs them off, dismisses them in media communications, and even mocks them on social media. That posture is not leadership, it's deflection. When the county's highest office trivializes ethical breaches, it signals to the public that rules are optional and accountability is negotiable. My use of satire is meant to counter that, to ensure the public sees these violations for what they are, evidence of a deeper disregard for the standards that protect fairness and trust. And let's be honest about what's happening with Rob Mitchell. There's an apparent campaign to push him out of the way. Why? Because he has taken a principled stand against reclassifying single-family homes owned by REITs and local landlords as commercial property. That reclassification will bring a 15% tax increase or more. And let's be clear, those business enterprises will not absorb that cost. The renter will. It will be passed directly on to renters, working families in Rutherford County who are already struggling. Rob Mitchell stood against that, and now he's being targeted. This is not oversight. This is retaliation dressed up as process, and it is precisely why the public cannot trust what's happening here. And when we look closer, the pattern becomes undeniable. For more than a decade, Mayor Carr and Comptroller Jason Mumpower have operated in overlapping Republican circles, first as legislators and now as power brokers in local and state government. Their alliance has evolved into a coordinated effort where Carr leverages Mumpower's regulatory authority to pursue political revenge and revenue control, while Mumpower benefits from Carr's local aggression to shield the Comptroller's office from scrutiny over conflicts of interest and questionable state funding. When the very machinery of an ethics inquiry is routed through Mumpower's office, the promise of impartial justice collapses because the referee is also a player with a lot to lose. Carr's relationship with Will Denami only deepens the problem. Denami, who also serves as a registered lobbyist for multiple counties, supplies Carr with vetted complaints and attack points, giving Carr the ammunition he needs to pursue political revenge and revenue control. In return, Carr's aggressive posture helps shield Denami's association from scrutiny over its dissolved corporate status and improper receipt of state funds. Their alliance illustrates how lobbying power and local office can be fused to undermine reformers and protect entrenched interests at the expense of public trust. So I ask this committee, how can we ensure fairness when conflicts are everywhere? How can we restore trust when rules are treated as optional? And how can we claim accountability when those who stand for the public are punished for it? The answer is external oversight. The answer is transparency. The answer is a recommitment to the principle that ethics rules apply to everyone equally, without compromise, without exception. And because Carr, Denami, and Mumpower are entangled in conflicts that compromise oversight, and because even this ethics committee itself is riddled with conflicts, there remains only one credible path forward: referral to District Attorney Jennings Jones, which I didn't see him today. His independent investigative authority offers the only chance for a thorough and unbiased review, just the same way it's being done with Mr. Mitchell. I believe the TBI, or a separate organization outside of this county and now the state comptroller's office is the only way to get to the bottom of what we're seeing here. So I ask you, how can we ensure fairness when conflicts are everywhere? How can we restore trust when rules are treated as optional? And how can we claim accountability when those who stand for the public are punished for it? I just overdid myself there. When the state's watchdogs and committees are compromised, it falls to the DA to cut through the political maneuvering and deliver an investigation rooted in fairness, transparency, and public trust. And let me be clear, there is no question of whether rules were violated. There's just not in my complaint. There is no question that ethical standards were ignored. The only question is what this body will do about it to ensure that the public is respected, valued, and protected the way it deserves to be. I don't have any more minutes on there. So thank you guys for hearing it.
You have a question?
Well, I wanted to make a statement. I didn't know whether to do it before people started speaking or not. But with this one complaint brought by Mr. Bennett, I'm mentioned in one of the complaints, and I want to say that I will not be voting on that issue. Now, with these many issues that are mentioned, and he's mentioned several, I feel like I can vote on those issues, just not the one that is pertaining particularly to me. Because for one, I think people may ask me questions, and I personally want to tell exactly what happened.
Thank you. If not, Mayor Carr, you may come to the podium. You have 10 minutes also, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am going to set my clock so I don't run over. So when the complaint was first filed, I have to say, well, first of all, let me say, Mr. Chairman and committee, thank you. I know this is time out of your busy day, and you're like me, you'd probably rather be doing something else. And when I first received the complaint, I have to confess, I took it quite seriously. I got word of the complaint through Scott Broden at the D&J as I was driving to our T-Bones and Politics event at about 4:30 in the afternoon of Monday, November 10th, which I don't think is coincidental to the timing of the complaint, but regardless, when I first got the complaint, I was kind of upset about it. But then quite honestly, after a little digging into Mr. Bennett, who has a pseudonym on Facebook that he likes to, as he say, use satire, which is a form of humor, and it's a form of humor meant to be derogatory and demeaning, and it's to joke. And so when I saw his YouTube AI videos, I then started to question the seriousness of the complaint. I finally received the complaint from Mr. Beatty some 2 or 3 days later via email and read the specifics of the complaint and thought, you know something, I don't need to think this is a joke or satire or humor because this is serious. Whenever you make an allegation against any elected official, it is serious and it needs to be treated seriously with the facts. Having said that, I want this committee to know that, yes, there are conflicts for all of us from time to time, but there's never an occasion where any of us cannot rise above the conflicts and do what's right, what's required by our elected office. And so even though I have had some personal disagreements with some members of this committee, I know and still expect that all of us will rise to the occasion to treat this as it should be, fairly, justly, and equitably. And with that, I'll go through the specific charges. The first charge is essentially that I tried to improperly influence Commissioner P in an impromptu meeting regarding the previous ethics committee. And so Mr. P and I did meet along with Eric Hennessy in my office very briefly. For there to be an ethics violation, there would have to be a conflict. And I would maintain that because the mayor is exempt from the Tennessee Sunshine Law, because I'm not a member of the commission, I'm an ex officio member, I do not fall under that particular statute. Indeed, it says specifically that the governing body means the members of a public body which consists of 2 or more members, excluding the county mayor in accordance with TCA 56106B1B. Having said that, even though I'm excluded from that particular statute, I still think it's important that I abide by that statute whenever possible. And so I tried to recollect exactly what took place in that conversation. I believe it was the conversation in my office that's being referred to, because nowhere in the complaint does Mr. Bennett state what was said. He just said there was a meeting. Well, I meet with all the commissioners all the time on a pretty regular and irregular basis. That doesn't constitute an ethics violation, according to the state statute. But again, going the extra mile to ensure that any conversation that I had with Commissioner P. and with Eric Hennessy's presence, I wanted to recollect. So I've asked Mr. Hennessy for a statement. As to what he recollect that took place at that meeting. And so it's at this point, Mr. Chairman, if I'm not out of order, if Chairman P. recollects, if that recollects similar to what he recalls. I'm asking the chairman if we can have this.
Commissioner, I'm going to give you a moment to read this. If you're comfortable answering that question, you can. If you'd rather not, we will proceed on.
And for the record, I do not recollect it exactly the same way, which everybody's going to have some minor differences, I would think, but I do not recollect it exactly like this.
I will respond. I don't recollect these specific words being said in a different conversation as we started the meeting. Like I said, I'll make those statements on my own, but I don't agree with this statement.
You want me to go to complaint 2?
That would be great. Please, sir.
Complaint 2 says there is direct evidence that Mayor Carr uses county property as a retail storeroom to sell honey. I do not use my office as a retail storeroom to sell honey. As a matter of fact, you will see no marketing, no solicitation, nothing in any way that would suggest, imply, or in any way say that there's honey sold out of my office. The reason is, honey is not sold out of my office. What is done is I, from time to time, on rare occasion, but from time to time, have people text me, call me, or through Facebook Messenger or Facebook say, Mayor, I don't want to drive to Las Casas Feed and Seed to pick up the honey. Can I just pick up a jar from you at the courthouse? And so they make a prearranged, it's a prearranged sale that they then come and pick up. Moreover, on the last 2 occasions where we have done our audit exit interviews with the Comptroller's office, specifically Sherry Gill, I have brought this to the attention to the Comptroller's office. They've had nothing to say. They just say, make sure you're careful that you're not using staff and your office and the promotion and sale of a personal item for profit. I do not. And then, so for the last 2 years, I've approached the Comptroller's office, and they have basically said, just be careful. So I am being careful, and nothing has changed. Any questions? I would prefer ask questions on each item if that's okay.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I don't want him
to waste his, I don't want him to lose his time.
We got it. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Mayor, I want to, I'm in a situation where me and you are in a campaign against each other, but you said that you have faith that I can go above that, and I have
Yep.
faith in myself that I can go above that.
Absolutely.
So I'm simply doing this out of transparency. And my question to you, and you opened it up, is you said, the comptroller said that as long as you don't use your staff. Did your staff ever take money or hand out anything?
So
like honey?
exactly. So what exactly happens is they'll bring out, I'll put the honey in a bag on a desk, and they'll come by and pick it up. And they may, most of the time it's already pre-sold, but every great once in a while, like one or two times, they'll put a money or check in an envelope and lay it on a desk. That's it. That's the sum total of the transaction. Item 3, now, I'm not sure, quite honestly, based on the complaint, what the issue is because it tends to ramble. But in the second paragraph, they go, the whistleblower was sent to the mayor's home in January to investigate a sketching error. This sketching error started when I called the assessor's office in January to ask him about an error in the square footage of my home. I built this home, my wife and I built this home in 1995. It has always been 3,850 square feet, plus or minus, always. We've never added anything to it. So and I cannot tell you why, but when I opened up online the assessor's property for that particular parcel, it had my square footage at 4,850 square feet. 1,000-foot difference. And I immediately couldn't understand how in the world a house that had always been 3,850 square feet has suddenly become 4,850 square feet. The problem was it just didn't happen all of a sudden. I just noticed it. So I contacted Mr. Mitchell via my .gov address because I figured this was going to end up being a public information request, which was the reason why I used my .gov. Come to find out I was correct. And so he and I had a back and forth. He called it a discrepancy. And then ultimately, and about a month later, I ended up getting a refund for 2 years. Nobody has ever been to my home since then to remeasure my home or to find out if I had a greenhouse and if the greenhouse I built out of excess materials on my property should even be assessed. Secondly, this is how initially I got involved in the problems with the assessor's office. I started getting calls from people inside the assessor's office saying, quote, Mayor, your property isn't the only one that we know of where we've overestimated the square footage. I said, what do you mean you know of other properties that have an inflated square footage? He said, we know of at least 1,000. I said, do you know who they are and where they're located? He said, yes. We can tell you exactly where they are and who located it. I said, when you contact these people and said the assessors made an error, do you fix it? And they go, no, we are instructed not to.
I'm going to, I would take in the middle, would somebody like to make a motion to extend that time? You want to extend it another 5 minutes at this moment? Chairman P., you make that motion, have a second. Mr. Harris, thank you. All in favor, say aye. All right, thank you.
My apologies. I'll try to go quicker. But my point being is that my error was one of 1,000 at the time that I was told. And the policy went inside, the unwritten but spoken policy inside the assessor's office, from what I was told by 2 individuals, is that the only time we fix the problem is when the homeowner discovers it on their own. We call it a discrepancy, we apologize, and then give them a refund. The problem is, gentlemen and ladies, is this problem on my house goes back to 2015. 2015. I only got 2 years back. How many other property owners are suffering the same problem? I have not brought this to the attention of anybody publicly for fear of politicizing Mr. Mitchell's problems with the comptroller's office. This is the first time I've spoken about it publicly. I do not know what else he's got in here, but there's nothing to this complaint at all that merits serious consideration, in my opinion, on the part of the Ethics Committee. Because the emails that Mr. Mitchell gave you through Mr. Bennett have been tampered with. He's edited all of them, every one of them. You go through that email list, he's edited every single one of them. Any questions? The fourth complaint deals with...
Mayor, if we can stop you for a moment.
Please.
Mr. Harris has a question.
Please. My
Mayor Carr-
apologies.
Mayor Carr, you said that he tampered or edited them?
Yes, sir.
Did he paraphrase them? When you say, did he take words out? Did he
No, he added...
appropriate how you was?
He added information in. I can give you examples.
Added, okay.
He added information in, and I have it here if you want to see it.
No, I'll take your word for it.
That's fine.
So you're saying he added words to make you look
Well,
like you did something wrong?
Yes, sir. He added, like, example, real quick. Here's the email, but then he puts this in here, and he doesn't say that he's editorializing or trying to explain my email.
Okay. So you're saying the headline on his ethics complaint is basically painting you into a different...
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? The mayor will go back to you.
All right, item 4, Chris Clark called. Did Chris Clark know the complaint was filed at the time of the call? Was he directed to call? I didn't know. Chris Clark called before I even knew a complaint was filed. Here's Mr. Clark's letter. In this letter,
Mayor, I'm going to stop your time for a
Please.
moment and let the committee review this letter, and then we'll resume. Mayor Carr, we'll come back to you now.
any questions from the committee? They're all originals. I had blue ink signed on all of them, Commissioner. No questions? I'll go to 5. The fifth complaint from Mr. Bennett, Mr. Diggs, is regarding 3 sealed bottles of souvenir alcohol in my office. Unlike the satire that defamed my character that suggests I not only drink hard liquor, but I drink it out of the bottle. I don't drink hard liquor. I don't like the taste of it. Haven't since I was in college. Some rather rambunctious behavior in college cured me of that, Mr. McMurray, so I'm healed. Having said that, I thought it interesting because he said we violated our HR policy. And I thought, well, who is in charge of the HR policy in Rutherford County but the HR director? So I asked the HR director to opine because she wrote this policy prior to my being mayor. So this policy isn't, even though we've rewritten the policy since I've been mayor, I don't believe this part has been rewritten. So here's an email exchange between myself and Ms. Stevenson regarding her interpretation as to who wrote the policy, as to what the policy means. As you can see, it's kind of backwards. My apologies. But as you can see, I asked the specific question, Sonia, can you give me an interpretation of the following rule in the employee handbook? Specifically, the unlawful text, quote, unlawful text, and if that only applies to manufacture, or does unlawful also apply to possession, use, sale, or distribution? Her response is, the policy is intended to ensure a safe, lawful, and productive workplace by prohibiting employees from engaging in any activity involving illegal drugs or unauthorized alcohol use that would compromise workplace safety, violate federal, state law, or expose the county to liability. Then I follow up, thank you for that explanation of the employee's manual. Just so I am clear, does a sealed, unopened souvenir bottle of alcohol violate this policy? Her response, in my opinion, no. Any questions?
You've got 30 seconds.
I have nothing to add.
Thank you.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
Any questions for Mayor Carr from the committee? All right, thank you, sir. So, it's my recommendation that Mr. Bennett's complaint, I think, is kind of broken into 5 claims, and that we'll just address those one at a time, if that's all right with the committee. And the first one would be the meeting between Mayor Carr and Commissioner P. Any questions, comments, Commissioner? Would you?
Well, as I said, I don't recall this meeting the same way Mr. Hennessy does. And I will give my take on the meeting. I received an email request to meet on ethics, on the ethics committee. And I thought, well, that's legitimate, but, you know, I personally thought even before going in, we don't need to be talking about a specific case. Anyway, when I entered the mayor's office, the first thing that I recall being said, and I'm not refuting what Mr. Hennessy says, you know, we may very well had said that we've got a mess on our hands. And I probably did agree if somebody had said that, because it definitely is a mess. But the first thing I recall the mayor saying is, did I understand all the charges that were being brought against Rob Mitchell? And I said, well, I don't, but I'll ask the questions when I get in the committee. But I didn't come here to speak about a specific case and Rob Mitchell in particular. And after I said that, the mayor then, as I recollect, said, well, were you aware that there were going to be 2 other individuals bring charges against Mr. Mitchell? And I said, no, I'm not aware of that. But again, I didn't come here to discuss Rob Mitchell. We had a couple other words that were said, and then Mr. Hennessy cut in and said, we need to stop this conversation. So I had looked at Eric questioningly, knowing that Eric is an attorney, and I personally felt it was highly inappropriate to be talking about this. Now, I still have and can produce that email that was sent to me. And I think it's appropriate for me to go talk to the mayor on just about any subject, especially, if he requests to talk on an ethics committee or any committee that I'm on, I'll honor that. But I don't think it was right to talk about the individual, especially when I'm fixing to go vote one way or the other on a case. And having said that, I made the motion to forward at our last meeting, as we read in the minutes, to forward this to the comptroller and the DA. But I only made that decision after receiving information from Mr. Mitchell himself, which was a copy of the comptroller's findings. And I asked for copies to be made, if y'all recall, and handed around. We all saw those. And that's when I made the decision to make the motion that I did. The reason I'm saying that is I was curious as to why the mayor wanted to talk to me about this. I'm one of the founding members of this committee, Mr. Beatty and I, or Chairman Beatty and I, but I asked Mr. Beatty, called him, and I said, hey, did Mayor Carr talk to you about this case? He responded, no. I also asked Chairman Harris if he had been called by Mr. Carr, or Mayor Carr, and he said no. Also asked Romel if he had been contacted, verbally asked him, and he said no. And Joanne, I didn't know you at the time or how to contact you, so I did not ask you. But I also contacted Nick Christensen, because like I said, this bothered me, that I felt like it was aimed at bringing out all the negative that they could, or maybe, I can't say that he was trying to convince me to vote one way or the other. He did not ask me to vote. He did not offer any compensations of any sort. But to me, just discussing it was not the right thing to do. I went to our attorney, and I sat down and talked to him about it. And we discussed it for a while, and we both agreed that there was a lot going on here. And I personally, after talking to him and with his recommendation, I decided not to bring this forward to the Ethics Committee. That was my decision at that time. I just wanted to stay out of it, to tell you the truth. And I further want to state, I don't know Jason Bennett. I'm not a big social media fan. I don't pay a lot of attention to that. I did not give him any information at all. I did speak to some friends that have asked me about this situation. I've spoke to several of the commissioners about it. But I have not spoke to him or give information to him or anybody else directly, other than what I'm telling you right now.
Any questions from the committee? Okay, sir.
Commissioner P, did you feel there was intent? And then my other question is, why didn't you bring this forward?
I felt like there was intent for me to basically throw Mr. Mitchell under the bus. But I think part of that was him wanting to make sure that I knew all the information that was out there. We get reams of paper on this, as you see in front of you, and sometimes it's a short time to look at it. But again, he did not ask me to vote a particular way. I don't know where the conversation would have led, but I was ready to leave when Mr. Hennessy, said, hey, this conversation needs to stop here. And I think Mr. Hennessy saying this conversation needs to stop, he recognized, just as I did, that this was not something we needed to be doing. So that's, the conversation stopped there. Now, why I decided not to, tell you the truth, you know, I've had some differences with the mayor myself, but I'm kind of a live and let live when I can, or when I deem it prudent. And in this case, I felt like I would just let it go. You know, I'm not happy about it, but I didn't feel like it rose to me making a formal complaint about it.
Any other questions? Commissioner McMurray?
Yeah, quick question. When you say the conversation stopped, did it mean the conversations towards the complaint that was coming up, or just the entire conversation at whole, or the meeting?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you very clearly.
Yeah, when you say that the conversation stopped, was it in regards to the line of the questioning, the 2 or 3 questions prior to that, or just the overall meeting itself, and you left out of the mayor's office?
My personal feelings was, you know, we were discussing Rob Mitchell, and I was fixing to go into a meeting where I was going to have to vote on it, and I thought it was inappropriate myself to be discussing it. That's why I mentioned it at least 2 times, saying, hey, I didn't come here to talk about Rob Mitchell. The second time I did that, shortly after that, Mr. Hennessy made the statement, this conversation needs to stop here, because I think he was seeing that this could be a possible problem. I mean, that's why the conversation ended at that point, but I was at the point where I was ready to stand up and walk out myself without that being said. But as soon as that was said, the meeting was over and I left.
All right, as regard to claim 1, what is the wish of the committee? Okay, please.
Under the ethics policy, if you believe that this states a colorable claim in violation of the ethics policy, you can so find, and you can also request that the county commission consider a censure. That's in writing here in the ethics policy. You can refer the matter, or rather you can forward the matter to the district attorney, and that's essentially all of the affirmative remedies that can be provided. Otherwise, if you do not believe that this meets the confines of the policy, in other words, remember, Mr. Beatty went over this, the ethics policy deals with acceptance of gifts or other things of value, or the performance of an act or refraining from performance of an act that he would be expected to perform or refrain from performing in the regular course of his duties, or that a reasonable person would understand was intended to influence the vote, official action, or judgment of the official or employee in executing county business. Then if you don't find that it meets those, then you can go ahead and take no action in finding that it did not meet the elements of the ethics policy.
Any other questions? Any further discussion? I would accept then a motion on claim 1.
I'll make a motion to not take any action on this one.
All right, we have a motion to not take action on claim 1. Is there a second? All right, we have a second for Ms. Medlin. Any discussion? Then I was going to say, Mr. Secretary, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner P, Commissioner Harris, Joanna Medlin, Ted Beatty. 3 yes, 2 abstain.
All right, as to claim 2 of the complaint, has to do with the sale of honey from the mayor's office. Discussion on this item. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion on Claim 2 of the complaint.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Does our attorney, do you have an opinion on this, Nick?
The actual determination of this is the decision of this body. So I can guide you on the legal parameters of what you must find in order to meet the ethics code violation. Again, this deals with acceptance of gifts or other things of value or direct pecuniary interests in matters involving county business. For example, if the mayor was contracting with himself and the county and didn't disclose that conflict, something like that, that's prohibited by state law. Or if he was seeking to provide a benefit or money to somebody to influence a vote. That's generally what the ethics policy applies to.
Well, the reason I asked this, you and I basically had mentioned this, is if this was another county employee, they work for codes or planning or whatever, and they were doing this, someone made a complaint, I think there would be some pretty serious repercussions to that individual. Where that would lead to, I don't know, but, and I want some clarification on this. We have a code of conduct, which, you know, the mayor's note from Sonia Stevenson basically mentions that. Does that pertain, that code of conduct that the commission puts in place, does that pertain to elected officials?
It does not.
And that's why, that's why I'm saying I have a question about whether that complaint about the honey, since the mayor is an elected official, whether that could even pertain to him. Now, having it in a county office, I think is inappropriate. I will say that the former mayor was also given a souvenir alcohol, I think from Short Mountain, that I'd seen on the shelf, you know, a display again, not anything that I ever noticed consumed, but I think it's inappropriate that alcohol be in the buildings. But again, we don't have a policy that I'm aware of that would prohibit that. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct. The employee handbook and the code of conduct contained within it are not applicable to constitutional or elected officers. They are applicable to employees.
And that's why I asked this question. You know, I think this is something we're going to have to dismiss because there's not actual rules against it. I don't think it's right. And the only reason I'm saying that is to bring up the fact that this, I was not aware that the handbook did not pertain to county commissioners that are actually writing it and imposing it on our employees, much less any of the other elected officials.
Now, please take it with a grain of salt. That doesn't mean a bunch of elected officials can just be running amok on stuff. But the truth of the matter is there are constitutional officers, and we put the employee policies in place for the employees, not the actual constitutional officers themselves.
And I agree with that, and that's why I'd make the motion for us not to take any action on this particular one because of the discrepancy with this handbook and the actual rules that pertain to having the alcohol in his office.
Now, just a reminder, Mr. P., we're on the honey claim. We'll revisit but your same logic is for the honey claim.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, yes, sir.
So your motion is to take no action on Claim 2, which is the sale of honey.
Yes, it is.
Do we have a second? We have a second. Any further discussion?
So I just want to make sure I heard the mayor correctly. When Commissioner Harris asked the mayor, was, I guess, any employee within the office, was any money accepted from them when someone dropped off honey? And was that answer maybe from time to time a few dollars or a check was left on the table when they picked it up? Is that what I'm gathering?
Yes, right.
Okay. So I'm just asking just a question. Is it not the same thing as items being sold out of the office or not? I'm just, or no? So is it not profiting off of a business?
I think, again, this is for your determination to decide. You have an ethics policy that talks about accepting gifts or giving a benefit to influence votes or to sway a particular matter and/or to perform an act. And so if the allegations don't fall within those parameters, this jurisdiction of the body ends. It doesn't go any farther than that. So while some commissioners or committee members may find that it's inappropriate that what the mayor did, whether it meets the parameters of the ethics policy is a different matter.
Greg, get your mic, Ms. Medlin, if you would. He's going to help you right there.
Any of the commissioners ever stopped by and got honey?
Personally, I have not. The only honey I've received was when Mayor Carr put them on our desk for Christmas. That's the only time I've received honey from the mayor.
We have a motion that has been seconded. Any other discussion? Yes, sir, Commissioner.
The reason I said that, I actually meant for that to be on the alcohol, and I question the sales there too. But again, and I'll ask for direction from our attorney, is my understanding is that handbook and those rules don't pertain to him.
That's correct.
So that's why I'm saying this. I disagree with it. I don't think it's right. I don't think he should be doing it. But again, our rules do not prohibit it.
Any other discussion? If not, we have a duly seconded motion. Mr. Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yeah, I just want to go on record just to echo what he said. If it's not in this handbook, then no, or even though I may or may not disagree with it, but I'm going to have to, I'll vote yes on the motion.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Joanna Medlin, Ted Beatty.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstain.
Motion carries. Item 3, Claim 3, is the whistleblower complaint. I believe that Mayor Carr, I'm not sure how quite to explain this one. Politically motivated. It was that the whistleblower complaint was a politically motivated an event in which Mayor Carr collaborated on to bring that about. Discussion on that item.
Is
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
this a complaint that mentions Mr. Denami, or is that separate?
It does, yes, sir.
Well, I've definitely got some problems with this one. And to tell you the truth, I've been inundated with so much information and so many emails and conflicting back and forth. It's hard for me to tell what's actually happened, what has not happened. If the mayor, in fact, used Mr. Denami to get personal information about some of the actions from Rob Mitchell, I think that's inappropriate. However, I don't know that we sat here can make that decision. My personal opinion, and I want other people to kick in on that before I make any kind of motion, is that something I would pass on to the DA and the comptroller's office to make decisions on that.
Any other discussion?
Is this the one where the emails were edited as well as part of this discussion?
Yes, sir, I believe.
Okay. If you mentioned the DA, would the original emails of both parties, will they be sent to the DA to examine if something was edited or not? The email chain?
I think that if the body wished to forward this to the district attorney, the entirety of Mr. Bennett's complaint, along with the attachments, would be forwarded to the district attorney. Whether they've been tampered with, I think that there was clarification by Mayor Carr that, and I'm going to look at Mayor Carr and you can shake your head or nod, but I think what I heard was that it's not that the words in the body or content of the email were altered or changed to show that Mayor Carr said something differently than he did and or that somebody else said something that they did, but there was editorialization on top of the emails. Is that not correct? Okay, I think it's important then Mayor Carr kind of explained his position because I may have misunderstood that.
Yeah, Mayor, please come back to the podium.
Really quick, all the emails looked like they were editorialized to explain the intent of the mayor, which I don't know how they would know unless they asked. That was number one. So that was to address. But there were a couple of emails that were cropped. And so the entirety of the email is not is not given to this committee so that they can review the entirety of a particular email. So it was cropped. So that and
So
the email should stand on their own without editorialization or cropping.
Mr. Bennett, if you'd like to, on a limited basis, make any comment about those emails, we would allow you to do that. Come up, please, sir.
Context, as you can tell, is what was added to the top to give just a context of what this email is. Who's this from? Who's this? There was context given on those emails. That's all. There's no editorial, wasn't trying to give any opinions.
Is this a full thread or have these been spliced in? Is this a full email thread or were there different emails spliced in?
There were things that just were particularly correlated to what I complained about, what I filed a complaint about. That's it. There's plenty more emails. There's plenty more, as he said, there's plenty more to some emails, and they can be given as well.
Okay, thank you.
But there was no, wasn't trying to change anybody's opinion, just giving context to what was on those emails.
Thank you, sir. We'll come back to the committee. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, like I said, I'd like to hear any discussion if anybody else has got something to say, but my recommendation and my motion would be to forward this complaint to the DA and to the comptroller's office and let them investigate that. Again, we don't have the resources, and especially on these email chains, I think they could probably get to the bottom of that, where I don't think, I know I don't have the ability to.
Okay, sir. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion duly seconded. Further discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please, sir.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Joanna Medlin, Tab Beatty,
Yes. Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstain.
All right, item 4, claim 4. Is the retaliation against the complainant. Mr. Clark is the individual mentioned. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, sir. All right, so in the complaint, Mr. Bennett said that Chris Clark said something about bullying or so, I don't know. I don't want to go through all this, but I'm sure he could do it. Mr. Clark's here. I mean, he's saying he didn't say anything. And well, actually, Mr. Mayor Carr gave a statement from Chris, and it says, that he just said, doesn't Jason Bennett work at State Farm? And then Mr. Bennett is saying something totally different. So I don't know how we could get to the bottom of that other than just hearsay from each one. But I don't know if Mr. Clark wants to even address this, but I mean, he has a right to defend himself.
If the committee so chooses, it could do a motion to suspend the rules, requesting that Mr. Clark come up and address the committee if he is inclined to do so.
I'd make that motion to suspend the rules to allow him to speak if he wishes to.
A motion by Commissioner P.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner McMurray. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Mr. Clark? You would identify yourself, please, sir?
Chris Clark, EMA Director. The weekend prior to that, there was somebody that mentioned a Jack Diggs, and they believed that it was a Jason Bennett that was on social media. Didn't think a whole lot about it. One of my employees brought that up the next day. It rang a bell. I recalled that name being from State Farm. I called a friend of mine, Mr. Joe Collier, and said, doesn't Jason Bennett work at State Farm, just to recollect where I knew that name from. And that's what happened. Short, sweet, to the point. Mr. Collier was busy. It sounded like I heard some machinery in the background. I said, I'll let you go. Me and Mr. Collier go back. He lives down the street from me. It was a general conversation between friends. I had no recollection that there was any type of ethical complaint against Mayor Carr. At no time has Mayor Carr ever brought up a name Jason Bennett nor Jack Diggs. This was through general conversations in the public.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Any questions from the committee?
Chris, one of these reams of paper here, there was a mention that you had said or asked or made this statement that we've got a mess going on here or something to that effect. Did you ever say anything like that?
No, sir, I didn't even know there was a mess stewing.
So the only thing you asked, period, was, does he work at State Farm?
Doesn't he work at State Farm?
And the only comment was, what
He said, yes, sir. He's a little mouthy, but yes, he works here. And I said, apparently so. In the conversation, hey, if you need anything, let us know as a general neighbor. I've mowed his yard before. We've had conversations in my yard. Just a general conversation. Once that was completed, that conversation, didn't think anything about it. I get a phone call from Commissioner Harris that evening, stated that there was an ethics complaint against me. I wasn't sure what that was about. I said that if there was a complaint, then it needs to go to the mayor's office. That's typically what happens for directors. We work underneath the mayor. We did so. The next day, reading a complaint that was sent through WGNS, saw my name on it. And that's how I found out that there was a complaint.
All right, thank you. Any further questions, Mr. Clark? Now we'll bring it back to the committee. Discussion.
I'd like to hear Mr. Bennett's side of that.
All right, Mr. Bennett, would you?
first say that I always liked Chris Clark. He's a good dude. And it kind of broke my heart that it even happened. I was standing right next to my boss when the call came in. We were working, just like he said, it sounded like we were doing some work. We're doing some work. He did get off the phone really, really quick, and I asked him, you know, what was, he said, that was Chris Clark. He said, something's blowing up in the county. Do you still work there? Or does Jason Bennett work there? There was 20 seconds between them hanging up and me understanding what just happened. And then I called my attorney and said, what do I need to do? You know, I couldn't believe that it had happened. And it happened within an hour and a half, 2 hours or so of you guys getting that complaint. So to me, it is ridiculous to say that he had no idea that there was a complaint that had been filed. I don't know about Mr. Carr talking to him about it. I don't know about that. But there is no freaking way that that call would have been made the way it was made, when it was made, apart from something like that happening. There had to have been a knowledge of that, and I just can't believe that he just came up and said that. Had to have been a knowledge. That's me. I'm kind of ticked about that.
Well,
There had to have been a knowledge about that.
I'm kind of, you know, it's a he said, she said, or he said. To me, you know, if we had testimony from your boss,
Sure,
that might help us or help me get it clear in my head. Again, say the same thing you did. I've always admired Mr. Clark, so I'm kind of surprised of hearing this at
I have
all.
no problem with Mr. Clark. I just can't believe that it happened.
Let me ask you a question. Was there, prior to the ethics complaint being filed, conversation online regarding regarding the county and all of those things? I'm not on social media, so I don't know.
Maybe a little, but nothing about a complaint, I don't believe. Yeah. So there was, I don't know why that would have, you know, that has anything to do with anything.
Was there anything about Honey or about the county or about any of that on social media prior to the ethics complaint?
Probably was, yes.
Okay.
Probably
Okay.
was. Yep, probably was.
Okay. Mayor, we'll give you a moment.
Thank you. We're kind of tied up in knots a little bit about the he said, she said, like Commissioner P. referred. But the fact remains, Mr. Bennett filed an ethics complaint against me, alleging that I put Mr. Clark up to that. There's absolutely no evidence that that took place. The reason there's no evidence that that took place is because that didn't take place. I didn't know about the complaint till after the conversation had actually happened. So I don't understand why an ethics complaint was filed against the mayor for something that allegedly Mr. Bennett says that Chris Clark did. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, back to the committee. Any further discussion? Accept a motion. You have to accept a motion on claim 4 of this complaint. Microphone, please, ma'am.
To me, it'd have to be more proof than what's been offered here now. It's he said, she said. You're right. You know, one of those deals, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so is there a motion to take no action?
Yes.
Okay, we have the motion. We have a second.
I'll just make the second so we can vote on it.
All right, we have a motion, second. Now discussion.
I can't tell whose argument is actually the facts or not. So I'm not willing to just say, hey, I need more information on this. This is another one I would say, hey, let the DA dig this out. I think he could interview the person that was in between this conversation and maybe dig into that. My recommendation would have been to, again, take this to the DA and let them figure out if there was a problem there. I'll be voting no on this.
So I think that the complaint is really towards the mayor and directing a subordinate to make the call that was made. And it sounds like from the evidence that's been submitted, you've got Mr. Clark and the mayor stating that no such direction was provided, and so far there's been no proof to contravene that. With that said, again, this body is limited to the ethics policy, and so whether this meets what I've already read a couple times now, that's a wholly different thing of whether this was inappropriate or not. But again, remind the committee that both sides have had the opportunity to present proof to the body, and as it stands, it doesn't seem that there's been contrary evidence submitted that Mayor Carr directed Chris Clark to make that phone call.
And I don't disagree with your argument, but personally, I feel like there's circumstantial evidence there. As Mr. Bennett stated, you know, there's too many circumstances, and I'm not able to decide which is the correct way or not. That's why I'll be voting no on that. Like I said, I'd prefer that someone else look into it.
We got a motion. It's duly seconded. Call the roll.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
No.
Commissioner Harris, Joanna Medlin, Ted Beatty.
Yes.
3 yes, 1 no, 1 abstain.
Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Item 5 of the complaint is the possession of alcohol in the office. We've had some discussion on that, but we'll come back to that item, that claim of this complaint.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the same motion I did earlier on the honey, because our rule book basically does not specifically, well, it doesn't specifically commit us to not having the alcohol on display there. Now, no, it's not a good thing, but again, that's our handbook, and maybe that's something our steering committee and the commission needs to look into. But I'll make the motion that we do not take action on that.
We have a motion. We have a second. All right, we have a second from Ms. Medlin. Discussion. Call the roll, please, sir.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Joanna Medlin, Ted Beatty.
Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstain.
Motion passes. Any further discussion on the complaint by Mr. Bennett? If not, before we move to the next complaint, we're 2 hours in. Let's take 5 minutes, and we'll come back in about literally 5 minutes. That will put us at about 1 minute after 3, and we'll begin again. We're going to call the Rutherford County Ethics Committee back into session. Complaint 2, item 7, is a complaint by Mr. Rob Mitchell following the same procedure. Mr. Mitchell, we will call you up, and you will have 10 minutes, sir.
I hope it doesn't take me 10 minutes. Rob Mitchell, 3450 Northborough Court, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I respectfully request for this matter to be brought before the Ethics Committee. Official misconduct, TCA 3916402, applies to public servants, candidates for office, and employees, and prohibits unauthorized exercise of official power, acting in an official capacity exceeding the servant's power, refusal to perform a duty imposed by law, violating a law relating to the servant's office or employment, receiving a benefit not provided for by law. Tennessee clearly establishes the limits of a county mayor's authority regarding access and oversight to the office's independently elected constitutional officers. Pursuant to TCA's 56108, the county mayor is responsible for the care and custody of county property, except where such property is by law placed under the custody of another officer. The assessor of property, as a separately elected constitutional office, maintains legal control over its premises, operational procedures, and secure work environment. Without my knowledge or consent, the county mayor authorized access to my office. Now, I understand that you heard testimony earlier contrary to that. However, I will ask you to simply look at the email chain between Cody York, myself, and Brian Kinsey, the director of the Division of Property Assessments. In that email chain, Mr. York says that he received a request from the comptroller's office. He also says in the email chain that he asked the mayor what they should do. In the email chain, he states that the mayor told him, "We always cooperate with the comptroller's office and to make the badges." I asked him who specifically asked for that access to be granted, and he directed me to contact the comptroller's office, which I did, and you have the email chain to Mr. Kinsey. Mr. Kinsey does not deny that his office made the request. He instead says that in an innocent conversation, members of my office made the request. Now, I contacted everyone that they were in contact with, the members of the Division of Property Assessment. No one knew of any such conversation. Now, as far as the normal protocol, if someone needs to get into the office, they are normally not granted badges. If they need to get into the back office, we simply prop the door open and put a kickstand down for people to come and go, which is what we did today and which is what our normal course of operation is. We frequently prop the door open to the back office when we have someone working alone at the front desk and they may get additional people coming up there that will need help. So the door is left open, it's propped open to facilitate people coming and going. It is not in anyone's authority other than myself to grant access, not only to the interior lobby going into the office, but also the back lobby. I expressed this to Mr. York, and that is also in the email chain. I cannot address things that people say without evidence. I simply provided the evidence of what happened. The second complaint that I have is the release of confidential information regarding an applicant. Now, on January the 15th, oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. I've got so many of these. I understand your confusion, Mr. P., with having so many things to look through. It happens to me as well. January 25th, 2024, journalist Scott Broden submitted an open records request concerning a position that we had offered, that we had listed. Michael Maxwell did not become eligible for hire until January 29th, 2024. His official employment, as recorded, was January 29th. Now, this is important because Mr. Maxwell was still going through screening, and an official job offer had not been made to him at that point in time. Yet, on January 25th, a detailed open records request was made to HR. I do not know how something that is confidential with a new hire gets outside of the county and gets to a reporter prior to someone being hired. But this is what the record shows. On January 30th, 2024, Mr. Broden received a response from Human Resources. Later that day, he submitted an additional set of specific follow-up questions regarding the hiring process. Again, this is not normal. It points to a breach, a severe breach, in the confidentiality of our applicants and our hiring processes. On February 7th, 2024, an additional open records request was submitted by Mr. Matthew Giffen. Now, let me point out that Mr. Broden and the D&J chose not to run an article on this because their editor felt like there was nothing here to report. But a week later, because it hadn't been reported in the Daily News Journal, an open request was submitted by a Mr. Matthew Giffen, working for the Tennessee Star, and what he requested was specifically what Mr. Scott Broden had requested. Now, there is some level of coordination that is obvious for someone to see. How would Mr. Matthew Giffen know to contact HR and request specifically, very specifically, what Scott Broden had requested a week prior? It does not happen because, to the best of my knowledge, we do not publish open record requests for individuals to go out there and read online, to know that somebody had placed one and to know what the contents were. Later on February 7th, 2024, Human Resource staff responded to Mr. Giffen's request, explicitly noting that they were providing the same records supplied to Mr. Broden. This establishes a connection between the two episodes. There was a premature disclosure of internal hiring information. Mr. Broden's January 25th request predates Maxwell's eligibility for hire because he had not been vetted. That's indicating that non-public information was released externally before an official hiring decision was made. On February 7th, Giffen's request is nearly identical to Broden's, suggesting that he was made aware of Broden's request or coached by someone what to ask. There's no public explanation for how Mr. Giffen could have gotten that information otherwise. If internal actors inside of our government communicated details about Broden's request to Giffen, this would violate the fundamental standards of impartiality, confidentiality, and integrity required of county officials and county employees. The premature disclosure of confidential information and the coordination regarding open records requests may constitute violations of TCA 3916-402, which is official misconduct, and it does relate to constitutional officers and directors and employees of the county. Respectfully, may I have a few more minutes? I'm sorry. Tennessee Code annotated 3916-403 is abuse of an official capacity. That relates also to constitutional officers and directors. Applicable county ethics rules regarding improper use of information and failures of impartial administration is an ethical standard, even if it is not specifically spelled out. My request is that a formal review to determine how internal information related to hiring practices was disclosed prior to an official hire date, and to refer this to the Attorney General under Tennessee Code 3916-402, official misconduct, 3916-403, abuse of official capacity. Identify those individuals who had access to that information and question and determine whether any improper communications occurred or were permitted to occur to take place. Also, I request that there's an investigation in the relationship or communications between internal personnel and the two outside individuals who submitted related records requests. Specifically, how hiring information was conveyed from the Human Resources Department to a probation case manager who disseminated it widely, Mr. Jim Trammell. The only thing in common is all of these individuals report to one person, and that is the county mayor. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to take the second one, complaint, before the first. All right, because this one kind of, I have a problem with. So you're saying that the mayor contacted Human Resources and leaked employee information?
I do not know who that is. That is what I'm requesting to find out.
And who is Mr. Griffin? Giffen, who's he?
Mr. Giffen is an individual that works as a reporter for the Tennessee Star. The Tennessee Star is directly, it's closely related to the mayor. They've supported him in several campaigns, and he appears on their show on a semi-regular basis.
Okay, so you posted the job on January 16th. And then Scott Broden asked for open records requests on January 25th.
Yes.
So why, I guess, my question is, why would Scott Broden ask for that? Where did it, I'm trying to figure out where 16th through the 25th, which is 9 days, what happened in those 9 days?
Nothing in our office. We simply posted the job and applicants were coming in, and Mr. Broden called me specifically and asked if I had hired a Michael Maxwell. And at that point, I said, no, he has not been hired because he had not. He is still going through the vetting process. We have not made a decision, and he won't be, if we do choose him, he's not able to be hired yet.
So, but you have an email where Mayor Carr is asking about this particular person?
There is an email that exists, I don't have it in this, where Mr. Carr emailed Sonia Stevenson wanting to know what the name of that Maxwell, I think it was what that Maxwell kid's name was.
Okay. So in your opinion, you believe he leaked the information. Is that what you're certain?
That is my concern, yes, that if he didn't arrange for it to be disseminated, he disseminated it himself.
Okay. On the unlawful, I actually believe that that was wrong, but I have a problem because of Miss Leonard come up and she said she gave the permission to do that. So do you not control your own people? I mean,
She does not have the authority to do that, and if she did do that without my knowledge, that would be a breach of official policy.
so
It
she
would-
should have came to you, which she should have.
She would, and she normally does. She normally comes over and asks, is it okay if I prop this door open so that I can get to the front or somebody can bring something in? And I have never refused it. It is a convenience. I would have, in fact, approved the badges had I been asked. It's my office to control. Going around my authority as the elected official is a breach of my authority. It is a breach of the law for anyone to take it on themselves to violate something that is constitutionally mine to do.
Okay, so did the key codes get them in your office? But what about your personal office?
It would get them in, I don't recall that it would get, what my understanding from Cody was it was just access to my office, meaning coming from the, as you get off the elevators, we have a little hallway right there and you can go into tangible personal property or you can go into the appraisal and administrative side. It operated for those doors and it also operated for the interior doors that are on key cards. So once you get, when access is granted to one of my employees and they have a badge to get in, they want to know when they can get into the main building and when I want the key card keyed for them to enter the interior offices.
So how was you made aware that they were in your office? You just walked in on them? What?
Well, I noticed them with somebody pulling out a key card and using it to get in, and that was in January.
And then once this complaint was filed, all of a sudden Miss Leonard comes up at this last minute?
Miss Leonard never came to me with that. I went directly to Cody York, and I went to Cody York, and I went to Brian Kinsey, and I asked them, and at no point did anyone say that Connie Leonard is the one that called and asked for that information. Specifically, Cody said he was contacted by someone in the comptroller's office. He was very specific, and he directed me to ask the comptroller's office which one of their people contacted their office.
But in your complaint, it says that Mayor Carr instructed him.
Mayor Carr did instruct him because Cody York asked Mayor Carr that Cody York said in the email from Cody to me, he said, I got a call from the comptroller's office to get key cards. I told the mayor, and the mayor said to give it to him. That is Cody's direct testimony, and it's in writing, and it's in an email. It's not subject to change. That's what he said. I believe Cody told the truth. And Cody also, when I asked him who in the comptroller's office specifically asked in his office, and who in his office did they make that request of, he referred me back to Brian Kinsey, and who works in the comptroller's office. He's the director of the Division of Property Assessments. And Mr. Kinsey said, one of my people called up. That's not what Cody said. Cody said that one of the members of the comptroller's office called. So somebody's not telling the truth, and I don't know who it is. I just know that unauthorized access was granted to my office, and Cody York is telling me it was granted by Mayor Carr.
Question I've got right along the same lines. So your complaint on this first part about the badges, your complaint is that the mayor authorized the badges to be issued.
Yes, that's correct. And that's the testimony of Cody York, that the mayor authorized the badges.
I see that, but I've also heard testimony from a lady that works in your office that said she did it on her own. So that's to me, that's pretty conclusive. You know, whether she had the authority to do that, I don't question, which, you know, I assume she did not from the statements you've made. But to me, with her coming forward and saying, I did this, you know, I believe that. What I've read, and like I said, there's reams of this paper here, and it's hard to dig through. From what I'm getting from what Cody said was the mayor made the statement is that we will work with the comptroller's office at their request. Had they requested him to do that, I think he would have said yes. And I don't know whether they did or not from what you're saying here. Like I said, it's confusing because there's so much information out there. But I think the person that actually did it was the lady that made that statement during the public comment period.
The individuals who have contributed to mayor's campaigns and who have financial relationships with them may or may not say exactly what's on paper. All I'm saying is,
I'm compelled to say something else, and it's not directly tied to specific information we're talking about right now. But I think we're basically retrying the last ethics meeting that we had, and I'm a little tired of that. We've already made that decision. We've already voted. The consequences of that have already occurred, and I don't like seeing this committee being used to, I don't know, for political reasons, either yours or the mayor's or anybody else's. You know, that's not what this committee was set up to do, and it basically infuriates me that we get caught in a position like this. I assume we've got some more people that want to talk on this
Sure,
particular
we
issue.
certainly need to let the mayor come in. We may have others, so thank you. Your time's up. We may call you back. Thank you, sir. Mayor Carr, you will have 10 minutes in which to respond, sir.
Thank you. With regard to the first complaint, allowing access badges, it's my understanding through conversations with Sonia Stevenson and Cody York that Sonia received a phone call from somebody within the assessor's office, as I recollect, stating that the comptroller's people during their audit needed access to and from the office suite so they could take lunch breaks and go to the bathroom. That at this particular time, it was the belief of the comptroller's office is that Mr. Mitchell and his senior leadership was obstructing their being able to do their work to the extent where they were had to wait in the lobby for an unnecessary period of time if they took a bathroom break or a lunch break. This individual, as you now know, who turned out to be Ms. Leonard, saw them in this situation. As I understand it, she reached out to Sonia, which is appropriate. Sonia reached out to Cody because Cody would print the badges, which is appropriate. I consulted with Eric Hennessy about the legal parts to this, if there were any, and Mr. Hennessy provided the following. TCA 84116B, notwithstanding any other law or existing contract, the Comptroller of the Treasury is hereby authorized to conduct an audit of the records of any entity contracting within state or local government entities created under and by virtue of the statutes of the state. If such contracting entity derives 50% or more of its gross revenue from the state or local entity or entities. Here's the important part. All books, records, documents, and other evidence pertaining to the receipt accounting for use and/or expenditure of any public funds by any such contracting entity shall be available by examination for the Comptroller of the Treasury during normal business hours. It shall be made available. It was apparent to those inside the assessor's office trying to cooperate with the comptroller. It was apparent to the comptroller. It was apparent to Mr. York and Ms. Stevenson that Mr. Mitchell and his senior leadership was obstructing this investigation. All they needed to do was go to the bathroom. That was it. They already had access. They were just trying to come back in. Yes, I did ultimately grant the request after consulting with Mr. York, Ms. Stevenson, and Eric Hennessy, and the law.
Any questions of Mr. Carr at this moment?
Mayor, I know how dysfunctional it is between you and the tax assessor. My question is, why didn't you just simply tell Rob they were coming in? I have two questions. That one, and the second one, you can answer them both. Have you had any contact with this Miss Leonard at all?
No, none whatsoever. I quite honestly didn't know where the request was coming from inside the office. I just assumed it came from his office. I didn't know it came from Miss Leonard at the time. I found out subsequent to that. I just knew it came from his office, and I thought, that's a reasonable request. Are we on item 7? I mean, we're the last item. I'm calling them 7. So with regard to the issue with Mr. Maxwell, it's deeply regrettable what happened. However, at no time did the mayor's office ever coordinate or work with any outside entities on trying to reveal the name of any applicant. Moreover, I wanted to make absolutely sure that I understood the allegation from Mr. Mitchell, because what Mr. Mitchell claims is that because people report to me, somehow or another, I'm guilty of an ethical violation because they work for me, without any evidence whatsoever that I instructed them to do anything, which of course I didn't. So I had Ms. Stevenson, our HR director, put back together the job posting for the admin support 2 in the assessor's office. And these are the requirements for the admin support 2. The applicant, unfortunately, Mr. Maxwell, had 0 to 2 years experience, which was not the required amount requested by the property assessor's office. The system flagged the applicant for not being qualified. The applicant was hired and the job title changed by the property assessor on January 23rd, 2024 to data processing analyst. They didn't interview anybody else. They had, I believe, almost 30 applicants, 16 of which were qualified. Unfortunately, Mr. Maxwell wasn't one of those that was qualified for an admin support 2. I found out all this subsequent, that then the job title was actually changed so that Mr. Maxwell could get the job. That is, by the way, Mr. Mitchell's prerogative. He can hire anybody he wants at any pay range that he wants. That is his prerogative. What happened was when he did this, though, my office started receiving calls from inside the assessor's office like my office has received for the last 2 years. I literally, ladies and gentlemen, have received over 15 different calls from 15 different individuals inside the assessor's office. Not just complaining about this, but complaining about a myriad of problems. Moreover, I'm genuinely concerned. We had 4 employees in the assessor's office come before you today and testify. I'm worried about them. I'm genuinely concerned about them. But the fact of the matter is, and I'll be glad to hand this out, this shows clearly the timeline, and I had absolutely nothing to do with the coincidence events between the Daily News Journal, the Tennessee Star, or anybody else in that regard, and I'll be glad to take questions.
Chairman. Yeah, just to be clear, I know Ms. Leonard spoke to us and said that she authorized having the badges made, but you just stated that you authorized it also.
Well, the chain of events is I'm the ultimate authority, Chairman P., and so I'm not gonna, I mean, she made the request, I authorized it. Through that chain of command that I illustrated. She went to Sonia, Sonia went to Cody. We touched base with the comptroller to verify the situation as it was. We did do that. Yes, then it was my decision to make, and I did make it. And I would make it again.
I understand, and I'm not questioning that at all. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. When she said she did it, I didn't know if that's what actually triggered him making the call.
She literally made the request. I authorized that request based on the conversations with Mr. York, Ms. Stevenson, and Brian Kinsey, and Ryan Duggan, quite honestly.
But again, you didn't have any contact with Mr. Mitchell about that situation.
No, I didn't know. Again, I didn't know it was Conley Leonard who made the request at the time the request was made. I just knew it came out of the assessor's office.
Well, again, I've got a ream of paperwork here, but the other thing that I've got a problem with is I've got conflicting state law being put in front of me. I am not an attorney. I am not a judge. You know, to me, and without question, this needs to go to our DA and let them sort that out. When I have conflicting state laws put in front of me, and I'm like, again, I said, I'm not an attorney. My recommendation, and I want to hear the rest of the discussion, was us to forward these to the DA to let them sort that out because of the conflicts in the state laws that are presented to us.
Mr. Chair, what is the ethical violation here?
That would be a question for us to come back, Mayor, in just a moment. We'll discuss that in just a moment. Thank you. So, any other questions? Yes, sir, Commissioner.
So, Mayor Carr, I've known you for 3 years, and nobody goes over your head. Would you agree with that? And I'm going to tell you why.
Not knowingly. Not knowingly.
I know the answer.
Yeah,
You're
not knowingly.
that type. You're not going to allow that.
That happens from time to time, but it's unintentional. So yeah.
Because I mean, an employee makes a request to our human resources, and I think Rob Mitchell should have been notified. I mean, he should have been notified. That's something he needs to deal with too. But did Mr. Maxwell Sr., did he confront you about this?
Are you talking about the last allegation?
Yes, on Michael.
You switched on me, so I was.
I'm sorry.
He sent out an email, but he and I never spoke directly about it, as I recall.
Okay.
Mr. Maxwell and I are friends, and I don't recall speaking on this, but again, I say that somewhat hesitantly because I don't think so, but I don't think so.
And what constituted the email where you said, is this Maxwell?
Okay, so that's an excellent, it wasn't an email, it was a text message, and I have the text message here.
Okay.
Because it was dated January 29th. And so what the text message, and I only got one copy of it, so I apologize. It says, I sent a text message to Sonia on January 29th, which is a Monday evening. What was the applicant's name? Matthew or Michael? I didn't know. So I was just trying to find out who the applicant's name was on January 29th. And this is that text message.
Why did you specifically ask that question on that guy, since according to this complaint, there was 20 other applicants?
I can only speculate on my memory because it's been a while back. But as I recall, Commissioner, I had gotten calls, several calls, as I said before, out of the assessor's office about this situation that was, they were putting somebody in a job that wasn't qualified. So they changed the job description so the person could get the job. And other people, minorities, other people who were qualified for the job never got interviewed. And they were upset that this had happened. And I was trying to find out, I was trying to find out in my due diligence as mayor who it was.
So did these
that was
people-
the inquiry to Ms. Stevenson on the 29th. Was it Michael or somebody else? I didn't even remember.
So
Michael or Matt.
people that felt that they were qualified did get the job, contacted Human Resources, then they contacted you?
No, sir, that's not what I said. People within the assessor's office complained.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Which would be the people like Mr. Kincaid and Ms. Leonard and all
Yeah,
that?
but I want to be clear, it wasn't them.
Okay.
Mayor, do you mind letting us have a copy of that for the record, that email?
Absolutely. I've only got one. You'll have to make a copy.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Hearing none. Mayor, let's see. You've got 3 minutes and 26 seconds. If you
I got one final thing I'd like to say. Earlier in the Mr. Bennett complaint, the reference was made that constitutional officers, elected officers, aren't held to the same standard via the handbook that employees are. I want to make it very clear that while that is true, in theory and in practice, that is not true. I hold myself to the exact same standard. So with regard to honey sales, or somebody coming by the office, or me putting them on commissioner's desk, we also have employees, a number of employees, who bring eggs into work to sell. We have employees who bring homemade bread into work to sell. We have employees who bring jam and jellies that they make into work to sell. We're glad they do that. Now, there's a line that we don't want them to cross, but it's a practical line. This is still a town that allows people to exercise a little bit of discretion, and we're not so hard-nosed on the rules that we forget who we are. That has taken place all over the county. Not one person in my 3 years of mayor has been dismissed since I've been mayor. I personally have not dismissed one person and wouldn't for such a silly, frivolous thing. So there is a line there. I consulted with the comptroller. It's clear, and we will hold ourselves to the same standard that we try to hold everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, back to the committee. Discussion. We'll get that second one. Yeah. We'll take up kind of this first issue of the badge, the issuing of the badge. Discussion. Yeah. If the committee is right, Mr. York is here, who has been mentioned. Are we willing to suspend the rules and let Mr. York speak to us? We have a motion to suspend the rules, Commissioner Harris. Second by Ms. Medlin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Mr. York.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. Cody York, I'm the CIO for Rutherford County, and I wanted to speak just specifically about the nature of events and the order of events that led to the badges being being distributed. So in my email, in response to Rob Mitchell's email, my email was sent January 15th at 10:19 a.m. And I said, quote, Rob, we received a request from the comptroller's office requesting access. Mayor Carr instructed me that the county always cooperates with the Comptroller's office, and to grant them the access. I hope this answers your concerns, Cody York. So the "we" there is the county. Right? The county received a request for access, and so my office received notification from HR. That's the process we have in place for badges. So we received a request from HR. It was out of the normal realm of, usually those things happen without my involvement, right? Badges get made every day without it coming to my attention. But this was a unique situation because it involved the Comptroller's office, and everybody was aware of what was going on with the Comptroller's office and the property assessor's office. So, my staff, that's how I got involved, right? So my staff said, "Hey, Cody, just letting you know." So I said, "No worries." I called the mayor. The mayor's instruction that we always cooperate with the Comptroller's office was not limited to that conversation. It's a comment that he has made to me multiple times. We cooperate with, and it has actually been, sometimes we cooperate with Comptroller's office, sometimes we cooperate with law enforcement. So we cooperate with law enforcement. That's a kind of a general instruction that the mayor has given me on multiple occasions. So that there's nothing unique about that in this particular case. He just he re-emphasized that, or that was his position to say, yeah, we cooperate with the Comptroller's office. Absolutely, do it. So that is how this happened. I didn't know who asked HR at the time. We don't ask those questions, right? We don't, the idea that a director or a department head or an elected official, if we get a request for a badge for someone who works, is going to be doing work in the county clerk's office, if that comes through HR to us, I don't call the clerk to verify that. I don't send her an email. I assume that her employee is acting as her agent. Same thing with the circuit court clerk, same thing with the department, codes department or EMS. If we get requests that go through the process for somebody to get a badge, we generate that badge, give it to HR, HR takes it from there. So the only outside of the ordinary piece of this is it was the Comptroller's office. I've instructed my staff to make sure that anything that was going on with the property assessor's office, because of the attention that was getting and because of the concerns, I'd said, hey, make sure I know what's going on there. That's why they let me know, and I called the mayor and made sure he knew, and he said, well, we cooperate with the Comptroller's office. So I hope that explains a little bit more about kind of the circumstance and how that happened, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. York. Any questions from Mr. York? Thank you, sir. I see Ms. Stevenson in the audience. Would the committee wish to hear from Ms. Stevenson? Okay.
The main thing that concerns me was basically the release of the information on an individual who was applying for a job at the time or personal information.
If you don't mind, we'll take those as separate issues, please, sir. So a motion on the first one or a discussion?
Only thing I'll say about that, I was convinced that this all came straight from Ms. Leonard, I think the name was. Of course, the mayor said a minute ago that he approved this after she requested it and went through HR. So that's actually followed the chain of command. But it did bypass the Mr. Mitchell. Evidently, nobody mentioned to him, and I didn't hear anybody say that they did say something to him.
Cody say that he was that he was notified through a text.
I did not believe that that was the testimony that Mr. Mitchell was notified.
I think the text was after the fact.
Yeah.
So to me, you know, again, it gets back to, you know, the state laws that have been put out in front of us. You know, I don't know if there's one supersedes the other or not. I'm not a judge of that. I would take them both. I mean, this one, too, with the conflict that I see in these statutes, to send it to the DA and let him sort that out. I'll make that a motion.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. We have a second. If you don't mind, I'm going to take the privilege to make a discussion. I think a thought here, as an elected official, I depend on my staff a great deal and trust my staff. It concerns me if we set a precedent that as the official, I've got to sign every piece of paper that comes and goes because somebody might be held in an ethics complaint for doing what's routine business. I'm not sure that that's a precedent. If I have trouble in my office, I'm going to deal with it, but some things are routine. And to create an environment where we become afraid to work together and do our jobs, I'll admit to you, concerns me. And I'd just like for us to think about that as we proceed forward. Had Ms. Leonard not said what she said, Council, remembering my agency law from a long time ago, whether you're authorized or not, if you're somebody's agent, if they hadn't notified you they're not, it is the assumption that they are your agent and still your agent. If it is routine for staff to be able to do that proceeded doesn't seem unreasonable to me, and I don't want us to create an environment that makes our folks afraid to do a good job. I'll just leave it at that.
I agree with you, and I don't fault Ms. Leonard at all. I think she was trying to be helpful and doing what she should have been doing.
We have a motion, and it's been duly seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah. Here's my problem, Chairman. We have a chain of command. Now, we just talked about alcohol in the mayor's office. Mayor is a constitutional officer. He technically can write his own policy handbook. Am I correct?
I'm not prepared to opine on that right now.
Okay, but Rob Mitchell has his own policy handbook.
He
and
does
so
have his
does
own handbook.
The Reed's, what is it? Register of Deeds. They have their own, right?
I think so.
Okay. So my problem is this, and I'm trying to see, I don't know who to answer this to. So I am chairman of steering. My steering committee oversees HR. Now, they report to the mayor, but we oversee HR. So if I requested a key to Mayor Carr's office, Sonia would not do that without contacting the mayor first. I mean, I know that. And so I'm just trying, I don't really think this much as a big ethics thing as much as I see breaking the chain of command and not working together between departments. So that's where I see this on that. You know, this has been pretty concerning to me. I think ethics is getting kind of put into something, you know, to where we look silly. And that's what I don't, me and Chairman, we talked about this, you know, this is a very important committee. And we cannot belittle it in any regard. I have stayed out of this on all this, but I'm going to vote on this one. And the reason I am is just because I think we need to get to the bottom of it. I think we've got two people, and one saying one thing, one saying the other. So I wanted to say that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please, sir.
Commissioner McMurray,
No.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris. Yes. Joanna Medlin. Chairman Ted Beatty.
No.
2 yes, 3 no.
All right, that motion failed. We would need a motion to take no action or other action. I'm looking to the side that voted against that motion for some other remedy.
I make a motion not to take no action.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mail. Do we have a second? All right, we have a second. Any discussion?
I make a motion of no action.
Motion of no action, it's second. Your second? Any discussion? Call the roll, please, sir.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
No.
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Joanna Medlin? Is that a yes? I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. Chairman Ted Beatty? Yes. 4 yes, 1 no.
Motion passes. Thank you. Now, as to item 2 of Mr. Mitchell's complaint, Commissioner, I think you had some discussion on that. I will yield the floor.
Well, I think it's inappropriate for an employee's information to be dispersed the way that happened. I think there's conflicting state statutes, and I would recommend and make a motion that we forward this to the DA and let him decide.
I have a motion. We have a second. As part of discussion, I will share with you, as part of the information shared with us, we have, it says a review of all records requests reflects no confidential information was released following the guidelines of the Tennessee Code annotated. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Ms. Stevenson, who is our open records for the county in charge of open records, is here. If we'd like to hear from her about what happened and what was released, if she has comment on that. Sure. I got a motion, spin the rules. I've got a second from Ms. Medlin. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Ms. Stevenson, do you mind coming to the podium, identifying yourself, please?
Good afternoon. Sonia Stevenson. I'm the Human Resources Director for Rutherford County Government.
And also the Open Records Coordinator.
And Open Records Coordinator. Yes, that is true.
Shed some insight into this situation for us, please.
So after reviewing the complaint, I went back and pulled the records that were provided, and the confidential information was redacted. Under the Tennessee Open Records Council and under state code, applications are public record. The only thing that we redact is to make sure there's no social security numbers, which we don't have those on applications anyways. Addresses, personal email addresses, personal phone numbers, and those items were redacted when I went back and reviewed the application. So records out of the HR department were not released with confidential information.
And applications prior to hire are public record.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Stevenson?
Are you aware of any state statutes that state that information like that should be requested from the elected officials?
No, sir. The Human Resources Office, we post the positions and the applications come through our office. So I am the custodian of those records. And as custodian of those records, I would have been the agents. I would have been the department to release those records.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a formal open records request made that was fulfilled when these records were released?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Who made the request?
I want to say it was Scott Broden. I'd have to go back and look, but I want to say it was Scott Broden.
Well, we were basically told there were 2 people that made the request.
I think
Scott
there was an
being one of
adjacent
them.
one after that, but I can't remember the gentleman's name.
Okay, any other questions?
I was going to say I do think it was a newspaper. I think both requesters were newspapers.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? We'll excuse you. Thank you. Come back to the committee. Discussion. Yeah, help me with, we have the motion to forward to the DA. It's been seconded. Any other discussion about that? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, Joanna Medlin, Chairman Ted Beatty. 5 yes, 0 no.
All right. Any other business to come before this committee? Hearing none, thank you so much for your service and for your time this afternoon. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner P, thank you. Commissioner McMurray seconded. All in favor say aye. Thank you. Mr. Patterson, Ms. Christensen, thank you, gentlemen, for your assistance. Appreciate you very much.